Welcome to the National Football Show, Dan Sileo. Man, it's so awesome right now this time of the year. We really appreciate everybody jumping on with us here. You guys are building this bitch into something really special. We really appreciate it. Like, I can't thank you enough, man. I mean, I get more compliments on this show than pretty much anything I've done in the last 10 years. And I want to thank you. And all the people that have lined up to come onto the show as we get ready for the regular season. My God, during the Hall of Fame week, I have some really special people that'll be coming on during the Hall of Fame week, okay? Bill Cowher, Jimmy Johnson. I mean, some of the guys that are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Jerome Bettis. We are lining them up. David Baker, the president of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the guy that knocks on the door and tells you that you've been elected to the hallowed halls of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He'll be on with us as well. So we're really looking forward to it. So much content. You know what's really great, too, about the NFL? The NFL now has made it so that this is a 24-hour operation. It's a 12-month-a-year deal. There's no time off any longer when you're covering the NFL. You know, it used to be that so-called downtime. You know, I was talking to my boy Krause, and he's like, you know, we're going to ramp up. Football is always ramped up. I get what he means because regular season camps start, more attention to your favorite team as you start to get the roster settled. Fantasy football has now become a major component to this. So there's no doubt it's a 12-month-a-year operation. And the NFL has done a great job at marketing it and also promoting it to you, the consumer. That's the difference to every other sports league that kind of tries to compete against the NFL. It's almost impossible. The league's got the sport. The league's got the content. They've got the superstars. Who would have ever thought that the most popular position in American sports today is the quarterback position? Those 32 guys that are the starting quarterbacks, they're the highest paid guys in the league. And on top of that, they're the most visible guys, even with a helmet on. So the NFL has done it right. I think this is going to be a special year, this 2021 year. I know pandemic is still out there, COVID-19. I know. COVID-19 vaccination talk. God almighty, I'm with you. They can't get their crap together. And I'm not going to pretend to be a vaccination expert here on the National Football Show. That's off my rails. I don't act like the rest of these sports guys do, telling you, get vaccinated. What the hell do you know, guy? Your previous job, you were probably a golf pro somewhere, putting teas in someone's golf bag. Or you were filling water bottles somewhere. Yeah, but now you're an expert because you're behind them. You know, it's funny. The microphone makes people experts. Just get vaccinated. Oh, Jesus criminy. Shut the hell up. What the hell are you? Spokesman for the CDC? Let people make their own decisions up. There is some conversation there. Carson Wentz made some news yesterday. We'll hit on that, but I want to start it out here. And once again, let's do this. Let's start it out in our place, Philly. Daryl Morey knows what he's doing. The general manager of the Philadelphia 76ers knows exactly what he's doing. Ben Simmons' name is being thrown around. And I'm going to show you how he did it right and Howie Roseman did it wrong. Ben Simmons, obviously, his name, him playing in a 76er uniform at the start of the season, forget about it. That ain't happening. You know it's not. Yeah, we really love the guy. You should be saying that. Have you heard the deal that he's offered the Spurs? He wanted 4 number 1s for Ben Simmons. And everyone out there went, you're crazy. No, he's not. Put a value on your own assets. Start high knowing full well you won't get that. But at least you're starting someplace that's in the clouds where people say, hey, man, you need to come down from that. You ain't getting 4 number 1s for that guy. This guy can't even shoot a free throw. He can't even play a game of horse. But that's exactly where you start. You don't start like Howie Roseman doing, we're going to have an open quarterback competition. And may the best man win between Wentz and Jalen Hurts. Who? you automatically undercut the value of the asset that you're trying to move. And then you wonder why you get a conditional first-round pick if Wentz does well. And for the record, if Wentz does well and that team does well, it's a low first-round pick. You're talking somewhere in the late 20s, maybe mid-20s. Okay? You're really not going to get ever the value of what you could have got. So Daryl Morey, the general manager of the Sixers, is like, hey, man, I want 1 million first-rounders for Ben Simmons because that's what we think of that athlete. That's exactly how you do it. That's exactly how you negotiate. You start high, man. Don't start low like Howie did. Surely he understood that. Or was it just this, that you hated that guy so bad that you wanted him off your football team and that you got so much pressure from your owner to get that guy's ass off that football team that you just threw hell to the wind and said, we're just going to have an open quarterback on, that you weren't thinking clearly. That thing was not plotted out and planned correctly on how they moved Carson Wentz. It wasn't. That's not how you strategically try to move a franchise quarterback designated, at least in the salary that he was making, whether you believe he's not or is a franchise quarterback. Carson Wentz was making that in Philly. So you may not want to call him a franchise quarterback. The salary he was making threw it back in your face and dictated that he was. And then you got the GM and the owner. Once again, the owner meddling in the negotiations. Remember when we had Frank Reich on? This makes total sense in where we are. And again, the parallels between what the Sixers are doing and what the Eagles did. If you go back to the JAKIB Media channel and you listen to the interview with Frank Reich that I did right here on the National Football Show, I asked him, who called first, Howie or the owner? Frank said the owner did. What is the owner doing calling another team on potentially moving a player? The owner did? What's his job position? Just because you're the owner doesn't mean you're in a football position to make those moves. And when you do make moves like that, and you're not in a qualified position to understand how you negotiate, how you create leverage, it's exactly what the Eagles got back in return. A box of Vittles, Chiclets, party poppers. Well, if he plays well, yeah, it's a 25th pick. Didn't you think you'd like to have the 5th pick in the draft like you saw what the Dolphins did last year? They traded, and then they ended up trading Tunsil away. They ended up getting the 3rd pick in the NFL draft because the Houston Texans suck so bad. And the 49ers go up and make a trade for that pick. And now you've got the Miami Dolphins sitting there with a king's treasure chest full of draft choices and assets if they have to go after Deshaun Watson. Or how about this? If it is a 1-year deal in Green Bay, how about Aaron Rodgers playing down Miami? Because you could send those picks to Green Bay. Remember, Green Bay's got 3 years left on that Rodgers deal. Rodgers thinks that he's got, like, leverage and stuff. He really doesn't. He's got public publicity leverage. See, it was important for Aaron Rodgers to do a really great interview. You know why? Because contractually, he has no leverage. And for the record, I don't know who said that there were deals and years taken off the Packer deal. The general manager came out this morning and said there's 3 years still on that contract that they have in Green Bay for Rodgers. I don't know what people are reporting, but Green Bay's got that guy tied down for 3 years. And if he wants to play anywhere, it's in Green Bay. Well, you know, this is everyone's saying this is the swan song for the Packers in Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. How's it? Unless he retires. Or the Packers see a deal that makes them go, all right, I'll move him. Other than that, you're not moving that guy. So you go back to where we started and how we opened the show. You got Daryl Morey asking for 4 first-rounders for a guy you're lucky to get 2 and a player, right? 3 would be, I mean, you get – if Daryl Morey of the Sixers gets 3 first-rounders for that guy robbed the bank. I'm saying 2. And for the record, the NBA draft this year, can you name 3 guys that you went, wow? There's not a game-changing dude in this NBA draft. They're talking about a G League guy who's in the top 5. So there's nobody in that draft that's going to come into your franchise and all of a sudden be Giannis or be a LeBron or Kobe or someone. There's nobody in that. There's no Zion Williamson. So Morey's asking for 4 number 1s. Perfect. I heard that. I was like this. He called the Spurs up and said, I want 4 1s. Perfect, man. And I hear everybody going, Morey's crazy. He'll never get 4. Of course he won't. It's not the point. The point was throwing the illusion. That's what you think of that player. And we'll negotiate down. The Eagles had to negotiate up. Look at this Wentz dealing and how they did it. How about this? Look at the Zach Ertz deal. Let's take a look at that, for instance. So Ertz is on the opening day roster, and it was a priority in the offseason to move him. They knew the player can still play. Is he – watch this. How do you know that guy's not Zach Ertz with Aaron Rodgers throwing in the ball? How could you legitimately say that? That you don't think with a better dude that spins the rock, that guy can't put 85 catches on you. You don't know that. When you got a quarterback that's struggling and then you throw a rookie dude into the mix and then he's banged up, he's going to look like trash. How many times do you see wide receivers go to different places and they don't have the same signal caller and they go from like 90 Hey, Odell Beckham Jr. is a great example of that. Beckham goes from Eli. I always thought of this Eli. I thought Eli was a very good quarterback. I wouldn't say Eli was a guy that I'd want to build my team around because you have to have a lot of guys around Eli to help him win games. Now, I will say this about Eli. Man, he's one of the streakiest quarterbacks I've ever seen. And when he's hot, this guy's like on fire. What he did in the postseason for the Giants twice, unbelievable. Actually, I would look at his postseason and go, I don't know, man, if I had to pick between the brothers' postseasons, I might want to pick Eli's postseason. Eli put some great numbers up, and let's not forget something. He beat the GOAT twice. This guy didn't lose to Nicky Foles, you know. And again, I'm not saying that Eli's better than Tom Brady. That's not where we're going. But I am saying that Eli's resume in the postseason compared to his brothers, I don't know, man. That's pretty impressive stuff. Now, I get the David Tyree, stick-em catch and all that. I understand. But that dude did win games. And he has multiple Super Bowls. I get that he crapped all over himself his last 7 years. And I understand all that. But circle back once again. Way to go, Daryl Morey. Is Ben Simmons worth 3 1s? No. Is he worth 4? Completely no. But, dude, learn how to negotiate. Negotiations 101. Try it. Might help you out a little bit here as you're trying to accrue assets as you try to rebuild your Eagle team. Eagles got holes everywhere. I was talking to my boy Cal. He's right. The secondary, they haven't had a secondary in 7 years. Their front 7, how about putting a guy on the ground, man, one time, just like, a pass rusher? That might help. That might help your secondary. You know what helps the secondary? A 16-sack guy. That's what helps your secondary. Take a look at the great secondaries in NFL history. There's always a dude that's a perennial pass rusher in your front 7 and a run stopper. You get a run stopper and a pass rusher, your secondary is going to lead the league in turnovers, and they're going to have interceptions everywhere. Plus minus will be off the charts because your front seven's handling the game. That's why the Cowboys last year was a train wreck. 300 rushing yards. 300 rushing yards is something like that Oklahoma does against Kansas, not against another NFL team. You're giving up 6 yards a carry. You're never getting off the field, bro. Got to start with how you negotiate. Look, it's one thing Howie Roseman, the GM of the Eagles, picks the phone up and calls all these people. Like when you get them on the phone and on the horn, how are you negotiating? You don't really have anything of assets that people want. There's really very few players on that football team right now that he has that anyone wants. You're coming from a place of weakness when you do that. Very few guys on that team people would make a trade for. That's why he's keeping Hurts. Because Hurts is one of the only players that people around the league like Buffalo, Jacksonville, places like the Jets that have young quarterbacks that would like to have a seam runner like Hurts. Hurts in a system like that, how he knows it's an asset, even if he's 75%. That tells you right there. I thought about it last night, why Hurts is on that team, because he doesn't have much to trade. And when you're talking about trading future draft choices, bro, you need those draft choices to retool your team. And you got a quarterback you're not sure on. Remember something. Every guy that's come on this program talking about Jalen Hurts, you know what they said? He was never, ever drafted to take Carson Wentz's job, which means what? He was a seatbelt, a safety device in case Wentz got hurt. He was never earmarked as the starting guy on the team. Eagle fans were screaming, put Jalen. It was never designed that he was going to be the starting quarterback. Never designed that way when they initially drafted him. That's why when Wentz got butthurt over it, you sat back and went, no, what are you doing, guy? We've already made it very clear. How could you even think that that guy was going to compete against you for the starting gig, especially after we gave you the money? This is where Wentz went sideways. Wentz went sideways because why? He couldn't handle the maturity of understanding the Eagles don't have to pat you on the head and tell you how much they love you. They're paying you every Tuesday. When you're in the NFL, you're not going to get backslaps and people coming up to you and telling you how much they love you. They're going to show you on Players' Day off when your paycheck gets direct deposited. When you know you're one of the highest paid guys and you're getting a contract that they gave him way too soon, that's how they tell you they love you. Dude, don't have to tell me you love me. Just pay me. Once you pay me, I already know it. So, I mean, give me a break, man. Daryl Morey, congratulations. That's how you negotiate. All right, let's move on here. I mean, holy cow. Really, can I be the only guy that sees that? But you'll have people going, oh, Morey is an idiot. He thinks he's getting – no, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Okay, so here's a prime example of what's happened in the NFL when you change rules and you can't police the league. Michael Thomas, wide receiver for the Saints. They gave him a giant contract. He had a foot injury, something that should have been addressed in the offseason early so that he could make it to the first part of the NFL season. Looks like he's going to miss the first 6 games, and he had surgery a couple of weeks ago. Sean Payton went nuts, saying we're going to have a conversation. There's a really adversarial relationship now between him, the team. Why? You got your money. You know, isn't it funny? Once players get their money, how weird they act. You're hoping when you give a player a lot of money, instead of falling back on his wallet, you're praying that that player becomes part of the organization and a fabric in that organization where, guess what? You start doing this. Yeah, we can lean on him as one of our core guys. This guy does remind me of James Harden. What possibly more could the Houston Rockets have done to James Harden and for James Harden for him to love what was going on in Houston? They weren't winning. Well, he was part of that. Now Michael Thomas doesn't like the quarterback. This comes down to the quarterbacks that are in the building. Michael Thomas doesn't believe. He's like this. Why should I go out and know this? This is where this is. Michael Thomas is saying this. I got my money. Why should I go out there, break in a new quarterback, get myself broken up? For what? For them? That's an attitude of a receiver today. Wide receivers today, they're good with 14 targets and 7 catches and 130 yards. And if they win or not, no one cares. The NFL has made that position so you can't police it anymore. You go across the middle and you hit a wide receiver, you get the targeting rule, helmet to helmet. You get some stupid rule that even the hard hits where you hit these guys really hard, they constantly get flagged. And they've made that position more visible than even the running back position. It's not that the NFL has looked at the running back position and diminished it, because everyone knows if you can run the ball, you win ball games. Ask Derrick Henry and the Titans. You can go to an AFC championship game with Ryan Tannehill, who was the Miami Dolphins garbage. It's because you got a beast running back. And anytime you got one of those 28 carries, 135 yards and 5 yards a clip, you can't lose a game. You can't lose. I mean, but these wideouts are now more visible. Look at the kids that are now coming out of college. There's more visible wideouts that are being drafted in the NFL's first round than running backs, right? If you see a running back drafted in the first round, you're seeing 1, possibly 2. Hell, you could go in the first 3 rounds, you could maybe get 10 wide receivers selected. You're not going to see that with the running back position anymore, because even colleges are not emphasizing that spot anymore. But when you get a guy, he's special. The point is, these wideouts now know they're not going to get hit, so they can chirp. They can bitch. They can make it seem that they're as important to the team as the quarterback. I mean it. I'm going to talk to my boy Chris Landry. He's based in New Orleans. And we'll get his spin on it from Landry Football. Talk about a guy who is breaking down every single team. He's got everything broken down for you on his website. And make no mistake about it, we'll be able to hit on all the teams. I want to talk to him about that. I want to talk to him a little bit more about the Eagles and how I laid it out too with Wentz and all that. We'll talk also about the Aaron Rodgers saga that seems that it's come to an end. We'll talk to our friend Chris Landry from Landry Football next. You keep it here on the National Football Show.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull Beef Jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. Doc and Krause every Saturday night from 6 to 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at ibew98.org.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you. Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3. Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. It's a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
Welcome back to the National Football Show. Dan Sileo. Chris Landry from LandryFootball.com will join us here in a couple minutes. Take a look as we get ready for the upcoming preseason and also the first half of the NFL season. So the Jets come to their stupid sense and end up getting Zach Wilson signed. What a dumb move that thing was. We told you yesterday, there's set salaries for rookie contracts. And because of the collective bargaining agreement, the first two picks in the draft are supposed to get their signing bonuses between 15 and 30 days. The Jets were trying to move the chains on them. There's nowhere in that collective bargaining agreement where you can do that. But to see, here's the arrogance of the NFL teams thinking that they could. They wanted to defer 75% of Zach Wilson, who was the quarterback out of BYU, taking number 2, to 2022. Which is completely against anything anybody has done since that deal has been signed. But the Jets, because they're cheap, wanted to see if they could negotiate some of this money. Listen, I've said this, but when you pay for cheap things, you get cheap results. How many times have you ever gone like this? Man, I got a super deal on that, and I didn't pay anything for it. How many times have you said this? Boy, I paid a lot of money for that car, for that house, for that computer, but it was well worth it because it gives you the results you're looking for. Okay? Hey, man, it's like going cheap on toilet paper. Don't do that, dude. Trust big sales. All right? You don't go cheap on TP. Why would you go cheap on your team? But then again, Woody Johnson, the owner of the Jets, he's treated that team like TP. I mean, when you come to a decision that you've hired Adam Gase because Peyton Manning told you, and you didn't do things in your own due diligence, and you're trying to jackass with a rookie contract that you can't, I mean, you get laughed at. Do I think the Jets are going to dig their way out with the new coach, with this quarterback, as long as Woody Johnson owns that team? No. Will they fall into a 10-7 season one year? Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. And that'll be fool's gold for a while, like it was with Rex Ryan. But the Jets, that's what they are. They are fool's gold. That team's not built on foundation of consistency like the Steelers. You know, what's funny is that everybody thinks that the Patriots have been this rock bed franchise for like 50 years. It's not true. It's actually since Bob Kraft has bought the team. When the Sullivan family owned the New England Patriots, they ran that franchise into the toilet too. Okay? And that was the Jim Plunkett's of the world, the Tony Easons of the world. Guys like that, they completely ran that thing into I think Victor Kiam owned that team when they went to the Super Bowl. But the Sullivan family was a horrific ownership. Brought a college coach in, Chuck Fairbanks, and they brought Ron Meyer in. They thought that was going to fix the leaking and all the stuff that was going on in New England. The leaking didn't get fixed in New England until they got decent ownership. And when you have non-meddling ownership, Philly, that's when you win. That's when you have everything aimed in the right direction. All right. So, is it a shocker? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. All right. Dak Prescott now. So Dak's got he's got a sore shoulder. Oh, what'd you think he was going to do? I don't care what you do in the offseason, how you prepare yourself. Once you get into football motion, once you get into football practice, that's the thing he's missed for over a year. Football movement. That's why he's sore. We'll talk more about that. One of my favorite people, God, man, I think Chris and I go back, it's got to be 25 years that we've been talking football with each other. Our good friend from LandryFootball.com, go over to his website, and I love talking to Chris. This is a big time of the year for him because he's talking college and he's talking pro. My friend Chris Landry is here with us now here on the National Football Show. Chris, here we are, man. I would say this is shaping up to be, I think, one of the most interesting years in NFL history.
Yeah, and I think, too, you throw in what we all went through last year and no fans and wondering, the NFL did a great job getting every game in. College football, you had a couple conferences, very little games. I don't want to jinx anything by saying, because I know things are going on, but it looks like everybody's got a better handle on things, and I feel like we're going to have a season, hopefully non-interrupted, and that's just exciting. Whereas, last year, Dan, I was worried about, is this game going to go on? Is that game going to go on? And we got through it in the NFL, but I'm excited. We're here, and training camps are all in, and football practices and colleges are starting in about a week, and it's August 1st on Sunday, and it's hot. I know everywhere, but it's football. I bet you don't miss those humid days in Miami right now in August, my friend.
No way at Pepinruth Stadium also with Nick Perkins doing 3 days.
Yes.
No way.
No, 3 days, yes.
3 days. Can you imagine?
That's right. Yeah, I was a part of some of those too, was out there, but I didn't have to work as hard as you. Coaching is not as hard as playing, my friend. I didn't lose as much weight.
Chris, let's go. I'm not going to start in Green Bay. I'm going to start in your neck of the woods. What the hell is going on with Michael Thomas and the Saints here? What's the disconnect here?
I don't know because this is Michael Thomas. I think being a diva. Look, you got a right to get your own medical advice and what have you, but there's no way to look at it as, you know what, I'll still get my money and I'm going to go through this and I'm going to miss most of the season. I think there's players, this. If you can avoid a surgery, we all would. But, your body is your tools. And, there's a reason why, Dan. Tell folks there's a reason why you have exit interviews at the end of the year. So you got something we need to, Dan, that right knee.
That's right.
We got to clean it now. That's why you have exit interviews and extra physicals. Get it done now. So, you certainly want to be ready to go by training camp. Very disappointing. Obviously, their quarterback situation is a big change. He is their go-to guy. You could make a case he's as good a receiver as you're going to find, and he's not going to be there for 6 weeks, 8 weeks. I don't know. that's a tremendous blow to them. And you wonder if it was just a selfish or a concerted effort to say, you know what, you just wonder a little bit about where that mindset is. I thought the relationship was good with he and Sean, but it's certainly taken a downturn now.
You know what, Chris? I would throw this into the dynamic because you mentioned the word diva. You tell me if you could subscribe to this a little bit. If you're Mickey Loomis and you're in that organization, a general manager now, how about this? Well, guess what? These guys have got to figure out who their quarterback is. I'm not going to go out there and I'm not going to get myself banged up while they're trying to work either Taysom Hill or they're trying to figure out if Jameis Winston's the guy. Why do I put myself through that when I want to do it on my own dime and my own time here? I'm getting myself back. I'm not going to go out there and have some quarterback lay me out and have me get injured even more. There's no Drew Brees in that building any longer. Could that be part of the dynamic too?
Could be. I mean, it's all part of that. I mean, it's one of two things. Maybe he got some medical advice that he trusted that, look, you're not going to need surgery. This is how you treat it. You're going to be fine. Oops, we're sitting here and it's July and it's not better, Doc. Okay, well then that's a bleep up. But I don't know. The comments yesterday, did the Saints know about it? So did you communicate that with them back in March and April? Look, and then were the team doctors on board? You know what? We agree. Let's let this heal. Because you've been through that. Sometimes, you know what? There's some risk involved with surgeries. It could get worse. Could be degenerative conditions. Maybe healing is the way to go. But I don't get the feeling that the Saints were informed of everything and they didn't realize it was as bad, which that I don't know either. I mean, your medical team's got to be on board with that, and maybe they did, maybe they couldn't do it, they couldn't talk them out of it, but something there just doesn't smell right.
Let's get to Green Bay now. I watched that press conference yesterday, and I'll tell you what, you can break down all the things that Aaron said. You can break down the thing that the general manager addressed today, bringing in Cobb for Aaron, saying we brought him in for him. Didn't you? I walked away from it, Chris. I don't know if you did, but there's some reconciliation that could be done here. If this thing ends up going in the right direction, and there's some give where they bring Rodgers into some of the conversations, I just took it that Aaron wants to be part of the direction of the team, not decision-making, but wants to be part of the direction because, look, Brady has made it very clear, and with his actions, if you do something like that, you may be able to help your organization be an asset, be a recruiter. He's right about Green Bay. Reggie White, hey, Chris, you know this as well as I do. Reggie White going to Green Bay stunned everybody because nobody goes to Green Bay as a free agent. Nobody does that. Tell me what your whole sense was when you saw that interview and how everything will play out.
Well, you're not in the building, so you don't know what was said or done. Here's the thing. Here's my philosophy on it. I think communication's always the key, and I think showing respect's always the key, and it's got to go both ways. And apparently, at least Aaron Rodgers didn't feel respected. So here's my thoughts on it. When you're looking at players as a front office guy, scouting guy, having input from players. It could be a defensive lineman. It could be you, and we're looking at a guard. And, I mean, my point is, as a scout, scout as coaches, we look at it differently, and we have to look at bigger picture. A guy who might be the best player today, by November, by next year, might not be the best move. So sometimes a coach gets married onto a player because he's easy to coach. Dan knows our system, and I like him, and I want him. And, maybe there's a younger Dan Sileo that might be a better fit. You've got to weigh all of that in.
And cheaper.
Yeah, and you know what? It's cheaper and it's long range. What's the best fit? A player can tend to fall in love with a receiver a little bit more because he has that's important. But maybe a younger guy, he doesn't have that relationship or confidence in yet, but he may be the better player. I think you should listen. I think you should get input from players. I wonder sometimes though if he was looking for input, or you really Because sometimes when you get asked for people's opinion, they get ticked off if you don't take it. Well, I mean, so it's like, I mean, is he mad because he wasn't listened to, or is he mad because they didn't do what he wanted them to do? I think that I don't know. But yeah, I listen to him, and I if I'm looking at, I'm going to keep 6 receivers. And I know who 5 of them are, but I got 3 of them, and they're really close. Who's going to be the 6th guy? I certainly would, I'm going receiver coach, the quarterback, and I go independently because, when I had them all in the room, it was like, it's like, all the Dolphins coming on, one of them comes up, they all come. Yeah, coach, I agree with coach. I like to go individually and see, and then put it all together. And if what the quarterback thinks on that kind of meshes what our other evaluations are, it might make a difference in keeping that guy. But I don't just say, well, he wants him, I'll bring. I think that's where sometimes there's a little bit too much into that. I just think that there was just poor communication, maybe lack of respect. I don't think, I would ever want to be that rude to say, look, I'm the GM, I'm the scout, I don't care what you think, that's arrogant, that's no place for that. But, did that happen? I don't know. I just think you need to have an open line of communication. I would always ask guys, if you were, your first year out of Miami and the great group of guys coming after, hey, tell me about Joe. What's he like in the locker room? Type of kid is he? We may never get a chance to draft him, but I want to get some intel from you because I'm getting into the area scout, the region. So I'm always looking for information. Knowing how to use it's important. I don't think they did that well enough for Aaron. But also get a little bit of a feeling that Aaron's a strange bird, that I don't know that you can ever quite appease him. Some of the stuff was like, Dan, I don't know. I'm not saying it's not true, but do you need to say Green Bay's not exactly a vacation site and people want to come to play with me? That may be 100% true, but that makes him look like an ass, doesn't it? And it makes him look really arrogant. It's like, all right, so when I hear that, I'm thinking, so is this guy so arrogant that he would come up in the general manager's office and say, yeah, here's what I think. We ought to, you know what I'm saying? So those are the things I'm a little bit concerned about, but he should be communicated with like any other player. And if you're letting a veteran player go and you don't properly communicate and thank him and do that, you're not doing the right thing, and you get a bad reputation as an organization. Did that happen? Well, the Packers say that's not true. We haven't done that. Aaron says he has. So here's what I do know. Those two sides don't get along. They don't like one another, and I don't think the powers that be are going to be in place next year. Aaron either's gone or probably Gutekunst is gone. But here's the thing. What about Mark Murphy?
Yeah.
He is the really key guy here, and he's the president. So I think if they have great success and they go to the Super Bowl, which I don't think they are, but let's just say they pull that off, Aaron's got a lot of power, and maybe those other people are gone. And Aaron can kind of say, well, I'm not staying unless. But if they go to the playoffs and lose in the first round of the playoffs, I don't know that there's going to be that much leverage. And Aaron will probably take his ball and go somewhere else and try to see if he can get a Tom Brady type deal.
Boy, that's interesting that you say it's either maybe front office or Aaron that's on the line this year going forward. All right. One of the great things about you two, Chris, is I can ask you about evaluating players that are in the NFL right now. I do want to get some college questions and all this realignment stuff here, but give me your sense of Zach Ertz. As the season ended last year, it just seemed that there was going to be a priority to make sure that Zach Ertz was either going to be released, he was going to be moved. The $12 million cap hit is a lot of money for the Eagles. Give me your assessment on the player, because he's there in camp, and now you're hearing Howie Roseman say he may be even on the opening day roster going into 2021 here. Give me your sense of where he is as a tight end in the NFL when it comes to an asset player.
Still think he's a good player. The pro personnel axiom, the blue grades are the elite players. The red ones are guys that win for you. purples are solid starters. He's still graded out when healthy, a solid purple. So he is a valuable player in my mind. You know, this is a team that's kind of they need help. They got a quarterback that's not an overly accurate passer at this point. I think they need a guy like that. Whereas his head, I think all the intangibles are there. I think he's got value. Is he a difference? Is he an elite player? He hasn't been, but I think he's got a chance to be a really productive player for him. And to me, getting something done, in terms of getting him on the right path, I think there's no reason why he shouldn't be on that roster this year. Make that team. I still think he's got good football left in him. I just think maybe what he's been looking for contract-wise doesn't fit with what he is at this point. I think he's got to have a prove-it year.
Would you make a move for Deshaun Watson if you were a general manager in the NFL right now?
Well, no, not now, because you can't make a move because there's no move to be made because you're not giving up anything when you don't know the legal part of it. You just can't. I mean, I can't give. They're not going to trade him for anything less than what his value is as a player. Forget the off the field stuff. Well, the team's not going to make a trade for him unless they know what his situation is. Is he going to be suspended for a year? Is it really worse than we thought? Nobody knows that part. That's going to delay everything. We know what he's worth as a player. He can make a huge difference. He can take a Miami Dolphins and make them a contender in the division, but you can't make a move like that now. I mean, what are you getting? You may end up making a move, and he's a guy that's, I mean, if this goes really bad, Dan, you may have given up a lot and not even get him on your team. It may turn out that way. And then if you're the Texans, you're not going to trade him on the cheap. You're going to say, whoa, this guy is a talent, and we're going to wait and see how this plays out. And he may not want to play with us, but you know what? He's got to show up so he doesn't get fined. And when we get the legal stuff behind us, yeah, a lot of people are interested in the football player. And yes, he will get traded. Yes, it will be worth for a lot, but not until we know the legal situation. You just can't do it. It's a weird situation because of that.
Couple questions in the college game. This realignment now with Oklahoma and Texas. I said this a couple days ago, Chris. Hey, that's a conference that plays zero defense, and now those two programs who struggle on playing defense are now going into the elite defensive conference in college football. Oklahoma, Texas going into the Southeastern Conference. I think they're middle-of-the-road programs in that particular conference. Maybe OU is a little bit up there more. I don't know if they're Bama. I don't know if they're like a really good LSU. But give me your sense of where you think this whole thing's going with realignment in college football.
Oklahoma is definitely better than Texas, higher up than Texas, but both are going to have to make some adjustment. Necessity is the motherhood of invention, right? You're in the Big 12. You got to score, and score some more. And you're right, the defenses are lax. Now, I do think Oklahoma has a little bit better defensive personnel now, but the head coach, who's also the great offensive mind, has to throttle it down some. He has to learn how to run the football in the second half and play a 4-minute offense so he doesn't have to try to win shootouts. I think over the long haul, though, what this is going to allow them to do, Dan, is you're right. They're going to have to learn and can recruit because they've got resources to recruit better defensive players and play with a better bow in their neck defensively. But it's going to be more rungs up the ladder they've got to chase, right? Because you mentioned the teams, and they got a lot of them. But I think overall their football teams are going to be better, but they're standing in the SEC. I mean, it's easy to go up to the top of the Big 12, a lot more difficult in the SEC. But Oklahoma's gotten to the playoffs a few times. They haven't fared well. Their defense hasn't been good enough. Their style hasn't been good enough. I think over time, they will learn and adjust to that. But let's just call it what it is. This is not a move to say where we're going to go play football. This is all about money. And we're talking about the Big 12, their TV. Last summer, the SEC struck the new deal with Disney and ESPN in a COVID year. And Big 12 went to the same entity and said, look, we got a couple of years left on our deal. We'd like to get a new TV deal. And they said, we're good for now. We're going to wait. They knew that they're in a market, they're in a conference where they couldn't sell it as much. The SEC, you know what I'm hearing? That each SEC team is going to end up getting, when they're all said and done, per year, a check, a hard, cold cash check per school per year, just for a TV deal, 75 to 80 million per school. Okay? Now think about that. Now Texas is making 15 million a year in the Longhorn Network, which is owned by ESPN, where ESPN says, well, look, you know, we can keep you doing that to 32, and ESPN's losing money hand over fist on the Longhorn Network. Why don't we roll you over into the SEC? You're going to make a lot more money, and we're not going to lose the money. That's why it's a win-win. It's all about finances. It's always all about finances. And those two brands matter. If Texas loses every year and fires a coach every 3 years, they're still a big brand. And you know why they're a big brand? Because everybody's going to come on and talk and make fun of them. Nobody sits there, with all due respect, and talk about how bad Texas Tech is or Kansas State is. When they're good, Iowa State's really good. When they're not good, people say, Iowa State, they're not supposed to be good. Texas, you know you're a big brand when people talk just as much about you when you're bad, because they like to make fun of you. If you didn't matter, they wouldn't talk about you. They're huge brands, and it's going to make this conference a gigantic one, and I think is going to further separate without any real legs with the NCAA anymore. It's going to be interesting to see with the name, image, and likeness, with all these mega conferences, what's going to happen next. I think we're going to see different leadership and a true breakaway of the power schools from the rest.
Finally here, you're dead on. I think it's the Premier League of college football and what we're seeing with the SEC, like the Premier League in soccer. So then you're buying into that. You think that maybe potentially because of the money and how they're doing the contract, that ESPN may be a little bit involved with the dismantling of the Big 12 because, and Chris, I'm not meaning to, but if you take Oklahoma and Texas away from the Big 12,
there is no Big 12.
There's no Big 12. So, I mean, systematically, TV is dismantling that conference.
Oh, yeah, TV runs it. I mean, follow the money. Where is the biggest amount of money? It's the TV networks. ESPN's driving this. This is a big part of it. Don't think that, and you know, legally, Texas and Oklahoma had to reach out to the SEC because you're technically not supposed to go the other way. So there'll never be any proof that it went otherwise. But to think that ESPN wasn't involved in, you know, the way this stuff works is, hey, look, Mr. ESPN, if we can get Texas and Oklahoma, what will it do to our right? It'd be foolish to think those conversations hasn't been had for over a year, I've been told. And for 6 months, they've been negotiating. Now, what's come out is, did ESPN, and we don't know this, they're denying it, did they go to the AAC and say, raid the remainder of the Big 12? Because if the Big 12 disbands, Oklahoma and Texas don't have to pay the exit fee. That's what we don't know. But in terms of, you know, encouraging this move, absolutely, ESPN is right in the middle of it, right in the heart of it. They're TV partners. They own the SEC network. They own the ACC network. And I mentioned they own the Longhorn Network, which is the only thing they've got their hands on that's losing money like crazy. Everything else makes money, right? That one doesn't. It didn't work. That was put together because Texas was flirting with the Pac-12. And so the Big 12 said, you can have your own network, and then we'll give you more of our big... The Big 12 needed Texas was a bully, but you can't be a bully if you are not if you don't allow them to be a bully. They own the Big 12 politically and financially. They now realize that they're struggling, and A&M is really soaring, and that's why they say, you know what, we want some of that. That big money, that prestige, we want to go there. We get our ass kicked in football. Who cares? Get another football coach. We'll try it again and again and again. We got so much money to buy out those suckers. We'll do it till we get it right.
Absolutely. Chris, please tell everybody how they can get in touch with you. And for college and pro football information, as we go into the regular season here, as we go into the exhibition season as well, tell people how they can get in touch with you.
LandryFootball.com is the quickest way to get everything. You get our video shows that you can catch on Twitch and YouTube and Facebook. In our podcast, the Landry Football Podcast channel, you can catch all of our podcasts. We've got conference podcasts. We've got national college shows, NFL show. We've got it all there. And the LandryFootball.com mantra has all the film room breakdowns, college and pro, getting all of our NFL breakdowns, team by team, roster analysis. We got all the college ones done. So it's like having your own scouting department for less than $10 a month. In fact, it's even cheaper than that if you get it for a year. So if you like football, you're going to love LandryFootball.com. That's what we like to say.
Absolutely. Chris, love it. Love having you on the program, man. And thank you so much for finding time for us. I appreciate it, my friend.
My pleasure. Do it again soon. Thank you so much.
Got it. That is our friend Chris Landry from Landry Football. Absolutely, man. I mean, look, this is really interesting now with ESPN. Did ESPN go to Texas and Oklahoma and say, hey, look, okay, and remember something about ESPN. They don't have any contractual television rights to the Big 12. That's Fox. And Fox is a big player with the Big 10 and the Pac-12. And because of COVID, you're going to pull in your resources. What conferences are going to generate the most interest, and what conferences are going to generate the most revenue for my television network? That's going to be Big 10, and it's going to be the Pac-12. Well, Fox probably thinks this is the best thing that could ever happen, because then they could cherry pick some of the markets that are in the Big 12. You can go into the Dallas-Fort Worth area and get TCU and bring them into the Pac-12. You could bring in Iowa State. Maybe Iowa State and the Big 10 will negotiate because you have a built-in rival with Iowa. Instead of having the Iowa-Nebraska rivalry, what you do then is you have the Iowa State that sells. I think television systematically this offseason, and because of what happened with the pandemic, I think they came to their senses that there's too many conferences. And the linchpins were Oklahoma and Texas. You know what's crazy? Where's the NCAA in this? You know, where's the NCAA? Where are they to monitor? Where are they to legislate? Where are they to coordinate? Do you know what they're doing? They're worried about Reggie Bush's Heisman Trophy. That ruling that came down, that's their focus, is Reggie Bush's Heisman and whether his records at USC matter or not. The integrity of college football, think about what just happened in the last 2 weeks. Oklahoma and Texas and ESPN dismantled the Big 12 right in front of the NCAA's face with no damage, no comments from them. Has the NCAA even commented on anything when it came to the survival of the Big 12? The Big 12 right now is on a respirator, and they're asking for help. There's no one to help. You think the Big 12 is going to look at the NCAA and ask them for – NCAA is going to go like this. Well, if we're going to be around, we've got to be in the pocket of the SEC. You're going to be in cahoots with them because they're the power brokers now. They're the power brokers. Think of that for a minute. You're more concerned with Reggie Bush's Heisman. And that was your big decision and your big declaration while you're watching a conference get smashed over the face and lose two of their biggest programs and two programs that were keeping that conference alive. Personally, I don't care. But the hypocrisy in it is the stuff that you look at. And remember, we had Bill Hancock. And I love Bill Hancock, the executive director of the college football playoff. Remember when he said that if players start to make money, this is when everything goes to hell in a handbasket? How about when you're watching Oklahoma and Texas rip apart a conference and no one's there for help with the conference? The conference has come out publicly today and yesterday and said they believe ESPN went behind the conference's back and put it in the ear of Texas and Oklahoma to leave the conference and go to the SEC. Because why? As you just heard Chris Landry say, they have the television rights because they bought them from CBS. Man, that's ugly business. That is ugly business. I want to talk a little bit about Dak. He's injured. A little more on Carson Wentz, too. There was some news yesterday with Carson Wentz. This ESPN story is fascinating. Okay? We'll do that next hour, too. You keep it here on the National Football Show.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull Beef Jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at ibew98.org.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you. Champions on three. 1, 2, 3. Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. It's a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
Hour 2 National Football Show. Let's see what we got working on over here. My boy Krause showing Paul and Joey B. Hey, Don. Huh? A lot of football conversation. It's funny. You know, I started posting some Simone Biles stories on my Twitter page at Dan Sileo Show. And as I said yesterday, I don't know her from a can of paint. It's funny. It seems that the sports media people are covering Simone like that's their daughter. And I had a question asked to me by a listener. How would you like if somebody, was saying some of the things about your daughter that you're saying about Simone? I said, well, I don't cover athletes like they're my kids. Nobody on the planet does that. I don't cover LeBron James like he's my son, because he's not. I cover LeBron James for the athlete he is. Kevin Durant. I mean, when we get to a point where we can't cover athletes because people are afraid to cover a coach because of his religion or his race, we're like the mainstream media turds. That anything you say about an athlete or coach is off limits. This is the only place, sports, where we can have a conversation, and race, religion, and politics doesn't really come into the evaluation of a guy. Watch this. Are we any less critical of Carson Wentz because he's white? Nobody on the planet in my business that I think has any credibility does this. Well, he's a white guy, so let's give him the benefit. You think people in Philly care what his color is? For that matter, his gender or his sexual preference. Of course, you have outlier idiots. I'm telling you, man, the guy can win a ball game. I don't care what he is. I don't care. If that guy can help me win, that's why those idiotic comments, that's why you can always tell when you have witnesses covering sports like Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith brings in with Shohei Ohtani that the guy was born in Japan and that's why he can't be the face of baseball. What are you talking about? Who talks like that? What athlete talks like that? Only a dumbass scribe talks like that. A guy who's never, like I told you before, folks, there's a reason why there's more people in the stands than on the field. And that's why Stephen A. Smith is in the stands. He was a guy that made his reputations in the stands, not on the field, not in the fire, not knowing what athletes go through. I'm giving you, hey, look, am I the greatest broadcaster? No, but I do have experience more than anything you have. I'm more experienced than Stephen A. Smith. Who would have thought that? That's why they hate me. Because I've been doing this for 30 years, and I've actually reached the pinnacle. That's why people hate you. Trust me when I tell you. Because we do a show, and I did it. I basically did this. Watch. I'm behind the mic, and I was in front of the mic. How many people you know can do that? Yeah, and sometimes I have to be reminded. My boy Krause, I go, hey, did you guys get credentialed for the Eagles practice? He goes like this. Yeah, right, Sels. Okay. You think I played in the NFL, dumbass? Oh, okay. All right. Okay. I get it. All right. You're right. I forget. You got to be reminded sometimes which side of the line, because I've been on both. He's right. I never get denied a credential for anything, actually. Super Bowls, championship games, everything. They have always been very great to me. Brian at the NFL offices used to be Angelo, and all them guys always give me credentials. I get it. But, so I tweeted out, I'm here. And you know what's funny? My friend told me, she goes, the Simone Biles topic is controversial. No, it's not. How are you looking at it like that? Because she's a woman? I'll tell you what, Nancy Pelosi, she gets her ass pounded publicly by every single media outlet. You know what? You may not like her. You may not respect her. But she's in front of that microphone. And I'll tell you what. She faces the music. Like I said, not my political view. However, she does stand in front of that microphone. And she does have her convictions. And I love people with convictions. You think anybody like Tucker Carlson or any of them guys go easy on her? What's the difference here? When an athlete puts their hand up and surrenders in the heat of battle and in the Olympic Games that you trained 5 years for, I don't know about you, that's a failure. And if you want to throw, mental health into it, that's an excuse to have a conversation divert from what you did. How come we never found out about any of this prior to the Tokyo Games? Usually with someone that famous, let me ask you this. When Michael Jordan played his finals game against the Utah Jazz, I think it was 98, was there anything you didn't know about Michael Jordan? There wasn't anything that you didn't know about Michael Jordan going into that final playoff series against Utah with Stockton and Malone. We knew everything about him. His father being killed. How about them uncomfortable questions? You want to talk about depression? His father was murdered. And then you know what you had? You had idiots like Dan Rather making innuendo that Jordan's father was murdered because of Jordan's gambling. Connie Chung too. YouTube it. No one ever held those people accountable for those ignorant comments. They just threw an innuendo out that Jordan was he's responsible for his father's murder. I always hold that against Dan Rather. Dan Rather threw that out just as, well, maybe this was this. And there was no context, no proof, no anything. Connie Chung, too. I didn't hear anybody going after them for a crazy, outlandish hypothesis on why Michael Jordan's father was murdered and left in a ditch. Did the media go light on Jordan? No. Why should you go light on Simone? Here, know this too. I did say this. Look at what I'm doing right here. And I'm going to tell you why this is a merit badge for Simone Biles. She's done more for women's sports in the last 72 hours than any woman I could think of, maybe next to Serena Williams. You know why? I'm talking about you. When's the last time you saw a woman front and center in the sports page for anything? And by the way, we're not putting her front and center because she's just somebody on the women's gymnastics team. We're talking about her because she also is a self-proclaimed GOAT. She had a little the emojis and all that stuff that she's got on her gear. She's got a goat on her gear. When you start buying into the hype, you put pressure on yourself too. See, what you have here is you got somebody who wants to reap all the rewards, but when adversity comes, they can't handle it. She's struggling with adversity. First time in her life, she's had athletic adversity. I don't know her personally. Talk about her personal adversities. I've never heard anything personally about it. Okay? Was she part of the Larry Nassar stuff? Probably. But no one's really talked about it. We don't know anything about it. That's not public. Now, maybe that becomes more of the dialogue as we get away from this Olympics. But let's be candid here. We're talking about women's sports in a time when the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Steelers are all going to training camp. We got a game around the corner, the Hall of Fame game, Steelers and Cowboys. We got an induction ceremony that's right around the corner. And you're throwing because, hey, let's be serious here. I mean, here are the storylines at the Olympics. Team USA looks mediocre in basketball. Simone Biles, Katie Ledecky, who is awesome to watch. That race the other night had me doing it. Then again, you think about it, maybe Simone had me watching more Olympics. That's, again, a testament to her. This is not all negative. You're taking it. You know what? You're covering her like she's your daughter instead of an American athlete. That's most people's problems right now with this story. You're covering her like she's your friend or your daughter instead of like LeBron or Ben Simmons. How about this? You think Ben Simmons is going through right now and had mental lapses in the playoff series that every Philly fan called him weak? What were the words? My boy Xander and everybody and Cal and all the people in Philly, Howard Eskin, all of them. Let me think. You think, doesn't he have some sort of like depression issues too? I don't hear anybody giving him excuses. They're beating that guy's ass up publicly, going on Instagram, making fun of him. Nobody's giving that dude a pass. Ben Simmons got his ass drugged in Philly, and he's still getting it drugged. Nobody's going like this. Well, he's got mental issues, man. Let's be cool on him. You think you're doing that in that city? Hey, by the way, if it's coming off like I'm dumping, I'm not. I'm talking about her like every other. You know what's crazy? I'm talking about Simone Biles right now like I would talk about Michael Jordan or Kobe or Shaq or Tom Brady. No difference. But people are wigged out by that. I go on social media and I read other people's comments that other people have made, and it's like it's automatically it turns to, well, you're just not rooting. Not me. I'm reading other people's comments. Clay Travis said something on his radio show about it. I saw Clay say that, and I was like, he's right. There's nothing racial about this. And nobody's down on her when it comes to her legacy. Does this take a hit? For me, it does. I don't know about you. Putting your hand up and quitting the Olympics? Can you name other situations where that's ever happened in Olympic history? Where somebody just went like this? Hey, I'm going to bow out and I'm not going to try to compete on my team sport. And you're the reigning world champion. Can you name me one time that's happened in Olympic history? So this never happened. And people they're covering this way differently. Now, you're going to get people on this side going, oh, you're just bashing. We bash Ben Simmons. The Sixers are trying to move him. You know why? Philly fan has his hair on fire over that guy. Tune on a sports talk radio show. Hell, tune on our channel and listen to the other shows on our channel. Then listen to the sports talk radio shows, The Fanatic or The Whip in Philly, and see how they're handling Ben and his depression. That guy's not getting any hall pass. Well, he's, a little bit, he's a little different, and, he needed a little more time to work on his game. This guy, he doesn't work on his game. He's on Instagram working on his game with women in bikinis. That's what you're hearing. Watch this. People go, well, that's terrible. Welcome to sports. When you're making $40 million a year or you're making $500,000 a night, you're going to get that. When you're the so-called GOAT in your sport, you're going to get that. You can't have it both ways and then call foul when you don't get the same coverage or the same paycheck as the men. You can't have it like that. you gotta be all in. Like I said, you may not like Nancy Pelosi, but she gets in front of that microphone and people bark at her and she barks right back at them. You can say whatever you want about her. It's true, though. Hey, I hate that. But every time she gets in front of Mike, I'm like, there she is, man. Her daily press conference. She don't miss it. And if you become a smart ass with her, she'll let you know it. I admire that. I like that strength. Again, completely different political, philosophical views, but I do dig the fact that she's got a conviction in her soul. Hey, this is the way I see it. You may not like it. I don't care. I don't personally care how you see that. So, yeah, I mean, dude, you got to – this story it's a tragic story on the coverage and the result of what's happened for Simone. It is. By the way, I don't root against Americans. You think I'm rooting against her? Absolutely not. You know what's funny? I had somebody tell me, hey, Seals, I saw you say something about the women's national soccer team because they took a knee right before they lost to Sweden. Yeah, but I also tweeted out, that may be true, but I'd never root against an American team in my life, and I don't care what their political views are. I'm not rooting against America on a national stage. I don't root for us to lose. That's an embarrassment. That's un-American. So I'm not rooting against Simone in any way. I want her to be able to compete in these individual events. Go win a gold medal. Shut people up forever with a great performance in one of these individual events. Who in their right mind would not root for her? Not rooting for her to win. We're just telling a story. We're telling her story. Watch this. This story is yet to be concluded. There's still other opportunities here. There's a chance to fill a void. Will she fill that void is also a great conversation. Should she? Hey, you want to be compared to Patrick Mahomes and Carson Wentz? How do you think Carson Wentz felt from Philly fan last year? They hit him over the head with footballs. This guy holds on to the football too long. Should never have given him that deal. Get this guy's ass out of town. So when his wife goes, here, you want me to act like everyone has acted towards Simone? How would you feel if that Carson Wentz's mother or her wife or her daughter were going to a grocery store and Philly fans started barking that at a grocery store? You think that's cool? That's not how it works when you're an elite athlete. It's not. So, a little bit of college news here. We'll get to that here in a minute. I think there's also something here with this Aaron Rodgers story. I want to hit on that. We'll do it next. You keep it here on the National Football Show.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull Beef Jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, And we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at ibew98.org.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you. Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3. Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. It's a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
National Football Show, Dan Sileo. Hey, Aaron Rodgers, did you get everything off your chest now? Can we go to work? These guy quarterbacks. Sorry, did I allow a defensive tackle mentality to get into the way they're? I so kind of apologize, I guess. Did you get everything off your chest? Can we go to work now? No, we got a 2021 season to try to go out and repeat as participants in the NFC Championship game. I'm getting sick and tired of knocking on the door and not pushing it through. You know, Aaron? So let's see if we can do it. These are what guys are saying behind his back. Oh, let's play a game here. By the way, I'll take a look, and I'm going to rank all the divisions in the NFL here in a minute. Okay? This is what they're saying behind Aaron's back, not to his face. I'm not talking about Devontae Adams and those guys. I'm talking about the dudes on the team on the defensive side of the football. Okay, the guys in camp. We just went through a 30-minute interview or press conference or at the podium. Jesus, criminy. Can we please go to work? Okay. We were in the NFC Championship game. We had the game at home at Lambeau Field. We had everything lined up for us. Here, think about this for a minute. The Packers had everything lined up. You're on the 5-yard line going in for a potential chance to go to the Super Bowl. Okay? And what does the team do? They fumbled the ball. Not literally. I'm talking they had everything lined up for them. They're inside the red zone. They're going in. And they fumble it at home because you gave up 7 points going into the half, and you took the football out of the MVP's hands, and you started kicking field goals. I said this, as soon as they pulled Rodgers off the field, Packers will never get that football back again. Not with any substantial time to win a game. You think that guy Brady, who's won at the time 9 division championships, is going to give that guy a chance to win that game with that colossal coaching error? My wife goes like this. They just gave the game away. I go, yeah, they did. Kicking field goals against Brady in a conference championship game. Congratulations. Another L. You're 1-4 in conference title games now. That's a coaching blunder. If I'm going down with that dude, not my kicker. That's not happening. It's just not happening. They took the ball out of his hands. How do you do that? Hey, what do you say to your quarterback when he walks over to the sidelines and you decide to kick field goals? And they kick it. You weren't kicking that ball to Kirk Cousins. You were kicking that ball to Brady. Like, of all people, you kick it to Kurt or Case Keenum or those stiffs. You don't kick it to that guy. He's going to put you in the coffin. The game, set, and match. It's over. Stupidity at its finest. All right. So I sat down today, actually did a little homework. And, you know, I was asked this question by the NFL Network earlier. And they were, you know, I think yesterday they asked me this in the morning, if I could rank the divisions in the NFL as we head into training camps. Now, this could change, obviously, if a quarterback gets injured, you have a catastrophe and a catastrophic injury with one of your superstar players. Obviously, I'm talking going into the camps as everyone's going into camp. I think it's going to be really cool this weekend. On Saturday, I'll be watching the NFL Network. I won't lie. All 32 teams for the first time are going to be on the field on Saturday, and they're going to go around to all the teams, and you're going to get a bird's eye view. That's one of the coolest things about the NFL Network. Their talent on that thing sucks. But the accessibility they have to all the teams and coaches, it's really a really cool thing. You know, because the owners own it and there's nobody going to be you're not how about this? You're not going to get any criticism on the NFL Network. Because the NFL Network is owned by the league. You think they're going to own something like that and have somebody go on that thing and start bashing the Washington team thing? Nobody's going to do that. You think you're going to start bashing the owner of the Eagles on the NFL Network? All the owners own a piece of it. They make money off of it. So anytime you watch the NFL Network, always know this. You're never really going to get inside scoop unless it's positive inside scoop. Because it's just, but their accessibility is sensational. And that's why the owners own it. You ever notice ESPN's accessibility has been kind of like been cut in half? Well, it's because of they're making it more exclusive for the NFL Network. Training camp, combines, draft, all of that. The ESPN has far less access than what they used to back in the day because of the advent of NFL Network. It's just the facts, because they're trying to build that thing too. I remember when I had Rich McKay on years ago. As a matter of fact, let's see if I can get Rich on tomorrow, the president of the Falcons. I hadn't had him on in a bit. That's the guy I had forgotten about. Let's see if we can get him on. And he was part of starting that network. And I go to Rich. I go, yeah, Rich, man, this thing's all they do is play follies. He goes, if you think that's all that's going to be played on this thing, this was 20 years ago. Now they have football on it Thursday nights. They do all the other stuff. It's really awesome. It's really a great network. All right. Let me get into the rankings of the divisions in the NFL as we go into training camp here. I think the NFL this year has some really good football teams. And I think both conferences have a team that can win a Super Bowl. A couple teams. Actually, that if everything lines up, injuries play a major factor in this, there's probably 3 to 4 teams in each conference that can win a Super Bowl. The best division in the National Football League, in my opinion, has to be the NFC West. I think when you look at the coaching staffs that are in that division, you look at the quarterbacks that are in that division. Let's take a look at it. It starts with Russell Wilson. Seattle is a, gold standard type franchise in that division. Ever since Russell Wilson, I think it's going on 10 years now, ever since he's been there, ever since really Pete Carroll's been there. They have been a gold standard type franchise. They've wobbled a little bit when they've lost some personnel. No longer do you have the Legion of Boom in the secondary. It's more Russell Wilson's football team. But that's a pretty damn good organization. Paul Allen, before he passed away, put everything, in place that organization was going to have the most important thing that it needed, and that was stability. Todd Lewicki, who now works in the NFL front office, was the president of that franchise. He did a marvelous job with that beautiful stadium. They set all the things, and they hired Pete Carroll away from Southern Cal. And that's been a gold mine hire. He's been the best coach Seattle's ever had. And he's probably punched his ticket to Canton as a Hall of Fame coach. I mean, he's one of the very few guys that has had success at both levels. The college game at Southern Cal, winning national titles, and he won a Super Bowl ring there in Seattle as well. I mean, then you take a look at where you are, probably number 2. I would say this. I know everybody's circling San Francisco. If Jimmy Garoppolo, the start of the season, I'm going to say San Francisco's number 2 in that division because I think Garoppolo is more familiar with what Kyle Shanahan wants to get done with that offense, more so than what Matthew Stafford is in a comfort zone with what Sean McVay wants in Los Angeles with the Rams. Does that make sense? I do think that Stafford is more of a talent than Jimmy G. And I'm not even going to put Trey Lance, the kid they drafted number 3 out of North Dakota State, in a conversation. First and foremost, I haven't seen enough tape on him. I don't really know anything about the kid. I really had to go to YouTube to watch him play. I think he played 1 game last year. So I really don't know, but I know Garoppolo. And I'll say something to you real quick here about Jimmy G. Don't you have a little bit more respect for Garoppolo on how he's handled himself as a teammate and how he's handled himself as a mentor to Trey Lance? It's now coming out that this offseason, they did make a conversation 2 years ago about potentially signing Tom Brady. They did go after Matthew Stafford. How about this? It now came out this morning that the play-by-play guy for the Minnesota Vikings, who has an insight into the Green Bay organization, that the 49ers this year made a call to Green Bay to try to get Aaron Rodgers. So they've been trying to replace Jimmy G for the last 2 years. It's a fact. I respect Paul. Paul's been a play-by-play guy for the Vikings. He's a pretty plugged-in guy in the NFL. Pretty plugged-in guy. And so I would say, Garoppolo, I have a lot of respect for him. That guy could just stay healthy. He's 22-7 as a starting quarterback in San Francisco. So you have to think this. If he can just stay upright, San Francisco's going to be a player with that franchise and with that roster they have as a potential Super Bowl team. Then I would put the Rams. I think the Rams with Stafford. Stafford said today that he feels like he's a rookie again. He should feel like a rookie again because he's got a hell of a play caller and he's got a better roster around him than what he had in Detroit. But I will say this. What's the one lax thing that has really haunted his career? Matthew Stafford needs a running game because he's a play-action set quarterback. He's not going to be a guy to get out in the perimeter like a Lamar Jackson or a Russell Wilson. He's not going to create passing lanes. He's more of a guy that's going to go sideline to sideline to try to create, throwing lanes, not to be able to create running lanes for him to take off and get 10, 15 yards. That's not his game. So if he had any kind of running game, now it's going to be an upgrade in Los Angeles because Sean knows he has to run the ball, but he's a play action guy. Gurley 3 years ago would have been perfect for Stafford. Gurley now is a journeyman. And then you put the addition of the Cardinals in that conversation. I think Kyler Murray has surprised me. It's a different league. You can't take the heads off of these quarterbacks like you could back in the day when Cam Newton was playing. You breathe on them. They're going to throw a 15-yard penalty for roughing or for targeting or whatever. You're not going to be able to blow these guys up like you did on the sidelines. You're just not. So that's why Murray, with his size, and he's done something that Drew Brees and Russell Wilson did that's very beneficial to short quarterbacks. Instead of getting back to a 7-step, he goes back into a 9-step. He's got to see over to his offensive lineman. He can't see. And he's got to slide a little bit more because he's got to create passing lanes because he's so short. And he does it, though. He's very effective. And he's a hell of an athlete. But that's the best division in football, in my opinion. The second best, I got the AFC West. So I got the NFC West 1. I got the AFC West 2. I mean, you get the best quarterback supposedly in the AFC in that division. I think that division has maybe one of the most surprising and upcoming quarterbacks in that division with Justin Herbert. I think that division, I think it goes Chiefs. I think it goes Chargers. You know what's weird about the Chargers? The Chargers have the personnel to really get a lot of things done. They're really a good team. I don't know this kid, Brandon Staley, who's the new head coach. I have no idea who he is. So that's going to be an outlier to keep an eye on. But their O-line is not bad. Their defensive front with Joey Bosa, I mean, they get after people. I mean, they got some really kid in the secondary from FSU. Man, they got some players on that team. And if they can make it happen and Herbert continues to grow, Chargers look good. And you know what's really weird, too, with the Raiders? David Carr is, without a doubt, he is a guy that is getting better and better. If you look at his numbers a year ago, you know, he's really done a nice job for John Gruden. He really has. And he continues to grow and he continues to move the chains. He's a good quarterback. That's a good-looking offense. The problem with the Raiders is getting people on the ground. Really is. The Broncos have a good defense. They're going to be in a lot of ball games. Their quarterback situation is just atrocious. Got better. They got Teddy Bridgewater in the room now. That's going to solidify it, kind of calm the waters down a bit. There's a pro quarterback there now. So, I mean, that's a good division. I got the AFC West as number 2. Number 3, I got the AFC North. That's a hell of a division. And by the way, I mean, when you look at all the things that are in that division there, you really got to look at, okay, that when you're looking at Baltimore and all these places, you got to love that division. AFC South, I've got number 4. The NFC South, I have number 5. Look, the NFC South has got to be up here. Here's where the NFC South has gotten better, and it's not because of the Saints. The NFC South is going to get better because of Matt Rule in Carolina. Carolina is going to be improved. I think the Falcons are going to be improved. Kyle Pitts is going to be a bitch to cover. And when you put him in that conversation there, look, the problem with the Falcons is not Matt Ryan. It was their terrible defense. That was their issue that they had. And so, you know, I got the NFC South number 5. I've got the NFC North number 6. Aaron Rodgers is going to be there. Okay? What is Justin Fields going to look like in Chicago? I think Minnesota's going to have a bounce-back year. I like what Coach Zimmer has done in the offseason. They've upgraded their defensive front 7. I think the Vikings are going to surprise people. I really do. I think they're going to surprise people. And the last 2 divisions, I've got the AFC East 7, and I've got the worst division in all of football, the NFC East number 8. I mean, look, and the 2 Tiffany divisions are now officially the worst divisions. Okay? I mean, the AFC East, you got the Jets in there, and the NFC East, you have the Cowboys, Giants, Eagles, Skins / team, whatever, in that division. And it's the worst. Now, who can a Super Bowl contender come out of those 2 final divisions? Can the Buffalo Bills come out of that AFC East and win it? Absolutely. Absolutely they can. Can the Cowboys come out of the NFC East? No. I don't think there's a Super Bowl team, but I do think that Washington can frighten some teams. I do. I think Washington can frighten teams. if they get great play from their quarterback and from Ryan Fitzpatrick. All right, a little bit more on the Aaron Rodgers press conference. There's one thing that they're going to have to work on as they get ready for the upcoming season. We'll hit on it next. You keep it here on the National Football Show.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull beef jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at ibew98.org.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. It's a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
I've got to drop this love here. Dan Sileo, National Football Show. So I threw out on my Twitter page a couple days ago that the Padres are going to go after Max Scherzer. Close to inking down the ace. We'll see if they can pull that trigger by tomorrow. See, I hear things. I'm not a journalist. I'm not an insider. I just hear things. Some would say, Sills, you hear things all the time. I know. You hate me. It's okay. I just, it's. I love you, though. Oh, my God. If that does come. Here, I know the owners. And the O'Malley family and Peter Seidler are dear friends of mine. You know, the O'Malleys used to own the Dodgers. They own the Padres. And Ron Fowler and those guys bought the team. And I've become really good friends with Peter Seidler and with the O'Malley family. And so I was talking to them the other night. I'm like, you going to go after Max Scherzer? They're like this. Well, they're already over the luxury tax. They're going to have to pay. Who would have ever thought the Padres? They had a $62 million payroll a couple of years ago. Now you're floating around $180 million. That's why I'll move on here to football here in a second, but hear me out here. You ready? How do the Rays, every organization should act like the Tampa Bay Rays. Here's why. The Yankees have a $210 million payroll. The Red Sox have a $181 million payroll. And the Rays have a $62 million payroll. And as of last Sunday, they were in first place in the AL East. How is that possible? How do you keep getting rid of your stars like Longoria and David Price and Schnell and them dudes, and you still win? There's a culture in that building. You know, I was telling you about that sorry-ass culture that's in New York with the Jets. The Rays are far from that. Matthew Silverman, the president of the organization I'm friends with, I tweeted out a picture of me and him from a couple years ago when I was broadcasting in Tampa. I know him very well. That organization, I love how they do business. And every organization in pro sports should understand what's the number one thing that the Rays do that the Steelers do as well. There's not a lot of noise in the offseason, and they constantly invest in people that they draft, that they sign. Once their economics gets too out of hand, what do? And you know who's taken a little bit of that baton and done it that way? The Patriots have done it. Didn't we get every single time that there was a guy's contract that was getting ready to come to a contract negotiation, what did the Patriots do? They moved them. They would move the guy. There's economically sound way of running your team. You can be good and have turnover. But what's the important thing on setting up a culture like that? You've got to be honest, and you've got to empower people. Like in Philadelphia, Howie Roseman hands a coach whose playing list on Thursday. It's funny. That's when the injury report comes out. Why aren't you handing him that on Monday? Dude, you're not supposed to be involved on game day decisions. Leave that stuff to the head coach and his position coaches. You know why Jerry Jones doesn't succeed? By the way, I want to make sure that we're very clear here on one thing. Jerry Jones is a great owner to work for. Jerry Jones has been spectacular as an owner for the league. Jerry Jones has helped grow the brand. Jerry Jones, the football guy, gets in the way. Guy in Philly gets in the way. Let me make a draft choice? Why? Do you have some sort of magical input that your personnel people don't know of? Are you trying to roll the dice and think that this is a toy? See, when you hear owners doing that, that's like people, you're doing this. Well, bro, how do you know with that sixth pick you don't find Brady? And you got a guy picking a guy, and you got a guy rushing to judgment on a contract negotiation for your quarterback too. Dude, let it play out. Let your people run the business. And that's why this Rays organization, $62 million, and you're beating the brakes off of teams like the Yankees and Red Sox. $200 million payrolls. There's no Bryce Harpers on those teams. I think what the highest paid guy the Rays have ever had as a position player on that team has to be Longoria. I can't think of another guy that they've had on that team where you went like this. That guy's making $30 million. How about this? There'll never be a $30 million a year guy on that Rays team. They don't have the attendance to do it. You know what they have when you know what kind of night you get when you go to Rays night? It's like gas mask night for the old folks. right? That's it, man. Old folks live in that neck of the woods in St. Pete. You ain't getting a lot of people to go in there and go, hey, go Rays. You know, you got your canes and your walker, and they got like all the old folks walking up. Where's my seat? Oh, yeah, there it is. Right over there. Don't worry, we have plenty of room. Hey, if you want to move down too, old man, go ahead. It's all right. Right? All right. Little news on Carson Wentz. He said something. Yeah, hold on for a second. I gotta make sure that I text this out here. And I gotta make sure that I ask my guy if this is okay. Let's see here. Okay. Hey, Krause, is it okay if I mention like vaccinations for just like 5 minutes here? I waited to the end of the show. Okay, good. Yeah. 5 minutes. I have 5 minutes. So now Carson Wentz is added to the list of quarterbacks that are saying that vaccinations are a personal decision. You add Dak Prescott and Josh Allen now into it. So 3 quarterbacks that are on teams that are going to be considered premium and primetime teams that are going to play on the national stage that are saying this. They're not being Pied Pipers for the CDC. Actually, Cole Beasley on the Bills has come out and said this. And do you have a problem with him saying this? This is not Dan Sileo. YouTube and everyone else. Remember this. Algorithms, that's what we're all gauged on to that nowadays. You know what algorithms are. You know what they do? They're basically making sure that you want to hear what they want you to hear. Just so you know. That's why you got to be careful. These are other people saying this. And Cole Beasley's right. 2 months ago, the President of the United States is telling us that if you're vaccinated, you don't need a mask and you can take your mask off inside and outside. Well, as of yesterday and this morning, we're back to mask inside and we're back even if you're vaccinated. You know what Cole Beasley's comments are? And by the way, this isn't Dan Sileo saying this. This is Cole Beasley saying this. I need more information. What's wrong with that? 2 months ago, I was told something completely different. There was a completely different protocol. Cole Beasley's not in the wrong, and you should not brand him as him doing anything wrong. What's wrong with asking questions? He's right. The Vice President and President of the United States of America said it 2 months ago. If you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask inside or outside. Now you do. Even if you are. So before people start going, and by the way, I've said this to you before. Nobody's anti-vaccination. I'm not. I've taken 16 of them in my life. Smallpox, measles, flu shots. I've taken them. So we've taken them all in our entire life. Nobody is saying, I think everybody just wants to hear this. Okay? I think everybody just wants to hear this. You know what they want to hear? I think everybody just wants to hear the truth. That's it. Oh, here. Make sure that I get this here because I think I went over 5 minutes here. Yeah. Okay, so 5 minutes is up. I'm done with that. Okay. Yeah, because, I don't want to bore anybody with that, even though it's going to be topic of conversation. It is. I thought the story of the day, though, was Chris Landry telling us that ESPN may have been involved in doing this. Knocking on the door of OU in Texas and saying, hey, man, we just signed a massive contract with the SEC. Why don't you come aboard? We'll take your network, Texas Longhorn Network. We'll roll it into the SEC's brand new television deal that they have. And you're going to get a $75 to $80 million check every year for TV alone. Those programs are going to make $80 million. 12 schools are going to make $80 million a year in TV alone, not counting attendance, local money, merchandise. You're talking $150 million programs. How does that compete against San Diego State or Colorado State? It doesn't. You can't compete, man. You're roadkill now. Temple. Congratulations. Here's your commemorative. I used to have a college football program. You might as well sign, seal, and lock that baby up, man. The thing's over. Compete against a team that makes $150 million a year in revenue, and you're not taxed on it. Okay. Wow. All right. Hey, we're working on Mike Quick for tomorrow. Hopefully we can get the analyst for the Eagles on with us tomorrow. We really appreciate you stepping in. Krause, Cal, thank you so much. Big Joe. Don't forget, if you missed any of the show, you can go over to the JAKIB Media channel. You catch us 4 to 6. Until tomorrow,